Hello, and welcome to JungleStream. A dismembered underage girl is found in your trunk, and you would think that would be reason for immediate arrest, or kindly being escorted to the police department for questioning, to say the least. But this is not the case for David Anthony Burke, also known as Singer David. David went from being in the spotlight as a rising artist to being one of the main suspects in the court of the public's opinion in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. His fame is quickly turning into infamy with every day that passes, and he chooses to remain silent. As his career has been suspended, the story that this is all a coincidence and David is a victim is simply not lining up. Something is not right, and everything seems to be unraveling pretty fast. There is a trail of evidence that confirms that Celeste and David knew each other, but not how deeply or why. Join me as we take a deeper look at the information that online researchers have been able to gather. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you're notified when new content has been uploaded. Thanks. Who is David Anthony Burke, also known as Singer David, D4VD? Is he a psychopath or a victim? The lifeless body in the trunk pointed to Celeste Rivas Hernandez being dead for weeks, if not longer, according to law enforcement. Celeste's family and those of us who met her after her untimely death try to make sense of this all. We want to know the details, not because of some morbid fetish to gore, but because we want to know that the killer or psychopath that harmed her will pay for what he or they did. With the absence of any new developments from law enforcement, the internet has started connecting the dots. Screenshot after screenshot from Discord chats, live stream clips, and old photos started circulating. But before we dive into who David is, I need to state that David is not considered a suspect or person of interest at this time by law enforcement. The LAPD is waiting on toxicology and forensic results in order to move forward with this case. While we are doing our best to verify that video proof, photograph text, and messages uploaded and shared online by internet investigators is real, we are unable to confirm with 100% certainty that it is not altered and or manufactured, since law enforcement has not provided any information for us to corroborate. I can say, however, that I do agree with the general consensus that there appeared to be an intimate relationship between Celeste and David. This is, of course, my opinion. Trying to protect your children from predators today is harder than just a few decades ago because of the many advancements in technology. The digital age has parents losing sleep while they try to learn apps such as TikTok and Snapchat and Discord and gaming chat rooms such as Fortnite, to name a few. In many cases, older parents and grandparents whose first language is not English, the thought that their 10 and 12-year-olds are communicating with adults through video games is not a possibility. They see their children playing video games, and they think it's like it was in the 80s and 90s, when children were safe in their living rooms, and were not communicating with children and adults all over the world through their video games. These parents think their children are safer at home than out on the streets where their parents can't see them or know who they're spending time with. This could possibly be what happened with Celeste's parents. If what we've come to learn from online investigators is true, the haunting part is that Celeste was ostracized, was treated as a runaway when in fact she had been preyed and groomed for years. If we take these findings at face value, then she had been manipulated into believing that her family was bad, her mother was mean and treated her badly, and no one understood her, as she told her schoolmates. As we know, this is what predators do. They isolate their victims because with isolation comes control. Control then becomes secrecy. Secrecy becomes a trap that you cannot escape, and eventually you become the victim. So all along, Celeste was viewed as a rebel who kept running away from a conflictive family, yet David was working behind the scenes to control her. She had no chance to live the life that she had every right to live. So let's look into who David is. David Anthony Burke was born on March 28, 2005 in Queens, New York. His family then relocated to Texas, where he was homeschooled. He mentioned in an interview that it was hard for him to go from having a lot of friends at school to having no one reach out to him anymore. He said that he questioned if he had even meant anything to anyone. Research has found that the lack of human interaction can affect people's ability to have practical level social skills in real social environments. Did this affect David? It was during this time that he was deep into gaming and was a Fortnite YouTuber that created music for his gaming videos. This is when he shot to fame. He was well liked in the online world. People gravitated to him and the younger generations followed him and supported him. He soon signed a music contract with Interscope and started working on his music career. Is David a child predator? 17 is believed to be the age when he met Celeste, and as we know, 17 is an insecure age to be. Most 17-year-olds don't have a lot of perspective. Did this contribute to his seeking out of a child? Did his altering her relationships thrill him? Did he feel powerful in controlling the narrative while writing songs about her? Other underage young girls have come forward and have posted messages from David where he states wanting to be with them and having them travel with him. If these messages are authentic, we can say that David is an experienced predator. We are unable to corroborate that these messages are authentic at this time, however. In the deleted Twitch livestream video of Celeste and David, there was a degree of intimacy and a lot of concerning body language between the two. Friends of David have told TMZ that they all thought Celeste was 19 years old and was in college, so it could mean that David too thought she was an adult. This could be true, or someone close to him could be trying to establish a narrative. Investigators will certainly be looking very closely into this relationship. One of David's close friends, Neo, has stated that he had nothing to do with the death of Celeste, and he expressed frustration that people online are jumping to conclusions for no reason. His comment has been deemed as insensitive since we are dealing with a dead teenage girl that he is supposed to have known. There is a level of narcissism in these online-type celebrities, from David when he first started gaming, to Neo, to others like him. They think of themselves as celebrities as a result of the number of people who follow them. Neo's comments are those of a narcissistic nature, where he is upset that this dead girl is affecting his life and does not seem to be concerned about how she died and what happened to her. Internet culture could contribute to and fuel this lack of empathy, meaning that the lack of deeper human relationships as a result of online relationships could have something to do with why people are relating with less empathy and kindness. David had mentioned on his group chats that he would watch a lot of gore to desensitize himself from things that he didn't want to feel. We know that what people watch on the internet could be encouraging this sense of disconnection. This could explain why his music videos centered around loss, obsession, violence, and death. In his videos, individuals' bodies are being dismembered, which reflects the lyrics in his songs. Is David a psychotic mastermind or a victim? In David's mindset, is it mental instability, volatility, paranoia, or narcissism? We have many questions. What happened to Celeste? Was it an accident? Was it an argument that grew out of hand? Did David make a senseless and catastrophic choice that ruined a life in an instant? Or was this an overdose? Did David find himself taking an impulsive decision as he panicked because he was harboring a runaway? Did he choose to dismember her body so it'd be easier to hide while he figured out what he would do next? Did anyone else help in all of this? Whoever chose to place Celeste in that trunk made a decision that was impulsive and reckless. Hiding a body in a trunk of a vehicle registered to one's own name is not what a criminal genius does. This poor judgment to leave it in a public place for weeks shows a lack of problem-solving skills. It shows that this individual is most likely a narcissist who truly believes he will get away with it, so why trouble himself? This was an impulsive behavior that was poorly thought out. David's Tesla was on a street where it was visible to all, so it had been ticketed 11 days before Celeste's body was found, and another citation was issued 5 days later. David's immediate reaction of doing nothing, saying nothing, but hiring an attorney, going into hiding, and transferring his 2 Texas homes to his mother when Celeste's body was found, showed that he was most likely prepared for that day. David's narcissism and poor judgment is displayed in his bringing a runaway girl onto a Twitch livestream. He was clearly overconfident that he can change the narrative simply by saying and doing so. Narcissists believe that they could get away with anything. What matters to them is how they will ultimately get out of facing any type of consequences. David's narcissism was on full display as he made Celeste part of his live streams. It wasn't just in the privacy of his home and her home where they would communicate. He chose to communicate with her in the cyber community with his fans and followers. He showed that he had put thought into how and when he would bring Celeste from out of the shadows to flaunt her to his fans. While on live streams, he tried to cover her face with very large, almost cartoonish glasses and hoodies, which exhibited some consciousness that what he was doing was wrong. He wanted to be with her, so he did as he pleased, and willingly continued to pursue her publicly through his music while putting himself at risk. He controlled the narrative, and in his distorted reality, he made his relationship with Celeste acceptable to the public. Of course, the majority of the public was not aware that the Celeste that he allegedly wrote songs of love and loss was just a child. As I already mentioned, his immediate reaction after Celeste's body was discovered in his Tesla's trunk shows that there was some type of awareness that this day would come. To choose such a public spot for her resting place after she passed displays his narcissism, because even with the possibility of getting caught and his being prepared for it to some extent, he could believe that he has a plan in the back of his head that will get him out of being held accountable. A question that so many have is if David's music proves premeditation. Is his music a glaring warning? Many online investigators are drawing a line with his music to show the parallels of the beginning of his obsession for Celeste, to their arguments, and to her untimely death. Writing a song about wanting to end someone does not necessarily mean that you will go out and do it, or even fantasize about it. There is a concept of leakage, however, which is when the internal thoughts and emotions that people have comes out in conversations, or in the internet things that they write, or in the art that they create, which could include music lyrics too. If people have written songs about ending a life, for example, and then there's a lifeless body in the person's possessions, then people can make the leap and question if this was leakage, and was this song part of the person's fantasy that he had been thinking about. Every song of David's is being dissected for clues and possible leakage right now, and David may not have even been aware he was leaking and putting out in his music. Legally, there is a fine line on this, however, and artists are pretty much protected where their art is considered their art and not proof in court. As online investigators dive into David's musical career, many argue that it's as if his music has been written and put out chronologically in order from when they believe his obsession with Celeste started, all the way to her untimely death. Of course, I have to state that this is all alleged. We have no new information to go based off of. While we are trying to corroborate all of the online messages and texts and videos, we cannot say with 100% certainty that everything is authentic. The authorities have not disclosed, confirmed, or denied anything at this time. Other questions are if we could know if David is exploitive, psychopathic, and cruel based on his music lyrics. Was there something more sinister behind those lyrics? Romantic Homicide, for example, is dark, sad, disturbing, and centers around loss. In this song, he says he unalived her and doesn't even regret it. He shows no remorse in the lyrics. There's a lack of accountability too on his part, as he places the blame of his relationship failures on his girlfriend. Fans online are sharing their thoughts. Some have expressed that their learning of the story of 14-year-old Celeste and 20-year-old David has changed how they feel as they listen to his music now. They are having a different reaction to his music, and this is not fading away quietly. They feel that it wasn't just art. It felt personal, calculated, and obsessive, and they no longer think of him as the deep, emotional, soft-spoken, and charming artist, but instead as manipulative, disturbing, and controlling. Did David deliberately try to confuse people? He isolated Celeste from everyone. He disguised her on live streams with huge glasses and hoodies, and then he lawyers up immediately and says nothing publicly while transferring 2 homes to his mother. That could show intent. Celeste simply vanished into silence, and we have half answers. Was blurring the narrative with no answers and half-truths David's strategy all along? Is this why we've come to learn about second homes and second Celestes, and have been reading and hearing negative stories online about Celeste's family? Did he attempt to taint the truth with uncertainty? Is this a desperate attempt to put on hold for as much as he could the public's condemnation? There's nothing more that the defense wants than to have chaos and confusion that they will later use as a reason why the monster that they defend should be allowed to walk free. Chances are that David knows what happened to Celeste. The question is whether he will tell the truth. David was all about being well-liked online and having fans and followers. So to him, the court of public reason is everything. Unfortunately for him, in the real world, we look at behavior, and David's behavior screams alarm bells.
David has offered silence, no acknowledgement, no public statements, no condolences to the family of the girl he swore he loved. His silence, however, is not emptiness, it's control. It's the power to choose what the world doesn't get to know. With his silence, there is no accountability for his actions. The authorities continue to investigate every detail about Celeste, her family, David and his family and friends, Celeste and David's relationship, Celeste's death, and the aftermath of her death with her disposed-of body. Forensic and criminal psychologists are most likely already studying David and his family dynamic to learn how his relationships affected how he views children and women. People are growing impatient with the silence from the authorities, but the LAPD is working within the confines of our system. Unfortunately, the person that may have the answers doesn't have to share them, and the law protects them in staying silent. So the authorities have to build a timeline precise enough to prove established relationships and the intent to conceal and harm, and that takes time. And subpoenas and data correlation also takes time. During this time, the defense can confuse the narrative in order to make the public grow weary and less interested. This is in hope that the authorities could be less diligent in their investigations if they don't have so many eyes on them. We can only hope that family members, friends, fans, and acquaintances that know something will step forward and tell the truth. The truth is simple. Silence protects the perpetrators, and until the silence breaks, we won't know what happened to Celeste. The outrage grows as David is seen on TikTok and Snapchat and playing his video games. David has not been arrested. He has not been charged with a single crime. He's not sitting in a cell being pressed for answers. He is living and enjoying his life. We wait to learn what happened while he gets to sleep in his own bed. Cooperative is what the defense stated, but no charges, no arrests, and no Celeste. The story of Celeste Rivas Hernandez began with silence and secrets, and this silence lingers on while he continues to live his life. The case has rattled so many communities. The story of a rich individual that seems to be getting preferential treatment after he's been abusing a child for years. We've seen this too many times, whether it's a celebrity or a politician or a prince or a businessman or woman, and they walk free and are never held accountable. Celeste Rivas Hernandez deserves justice. Her childhood was taken away from her, and she was never given a real opportunity to experience all that a child should before arriving at her adolescence. and adulthood, and he and those who harmed her need to be held accountable.